रंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंजा बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंजा बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना तीरा वनचारी तीरा वनचारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पदगामी नयन पदगामी भवतु जय राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधे जय राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधा जय लक्ष्मीनाथ सिंह जय अनंत नरसिंह जय अनंत जय गौरानिधाय गौरानिधाय जय गौरानिधाय जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्र सदस्य श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्र सदस्य श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा श्री वासादि गौरभक्त वृंद की जय। Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki jai. Brajabhumi Shri Vrindavana Dham ki jai. Mayapur Shri Navadvipa Dham ki jai. Mathura Dham ki jai. Dwaraka Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Maharani ki jai. Samaveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshu Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So, Hare Krishna devotees, welcome for ISKCON Seshadripuram morning online Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we will be discussing third canto, 21st chapter, verse number 35 through 39. So the third canto is entitled Status Quo, the Status Quo. And the chapter that we are currently in, chapter 21, this is a conversation between Manu and Kardama Muni. And this, of course, this conversation is being narrated in a conversation between Maitreya Muni and Mahatma Vidura. So, within that conversation, Maitreya Muni has been instructing Vidura ji on various aspects of devotional life. As Vidura ji had taken Maitreya Muni as a spiritual master, and he was instructing and he was continuously asking him various questions about the, says, right, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tadvidhi pranipatena paripashtena seveya upadekshanti te jnana jnanina tatdarshanha. That means one will have to humbly, in a mode of service, has to inquire from the spiritual master, and the spiritual master, having seen the truth, will reveal the knowledge to the disciple. So Viduraji is actually giving, acting as an example of how one should actually learn from the spiritual master. Viduraji himself is not an ordinary person, that he is already a realized person. But as we see, as Krishna says again in Bhagavad Gita, that just like the people follow what the leaders do, and therefore he is instructing Arjuna that you should actually set an example by doing the right things. And Krishna himself personally says, I myself, I have no duty to perform, but I am doing so many of these activities because I want to set an example to the common public, to the common jiva, so that he actually sees this and learns how to use this knowledge to progress in spiritual life, to come back to him, come into Krishna consciousness and go back home, back to Godhead. So here Mahatma Vidura is actually following that example, and Krishna himself also accepted a spiritual master, even though he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have seen our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, also taking up a spiritual master. Like that. So, like that. So here Mahatma Vidura also accepts Maitreya Muni as a spiritual master, and then he keeps on inquiring very nicely from him various aspects of the Lord, trying to understand the philosophical concepts, the history of what all happened, and trying to understand the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like one is to Shravanam, this most important, because if we have to awaken our what do you call our consciousness, which is basically sleeping right now. We are not able to remember our original relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are there, in a state of dream where we have actually forgotten who we are in our reality. So we are forgetful of our original constitutional position. Therefore, the best way to revive our original consciousness is through the process of hearing. They say the ear is the most conscious of all the senses that we have. That is why, when we sleep, also the ear is the first sense which can actually wake up, right? If you see, like, we keep an alarm. We can't put a clock in front of our face and then sleep thinking that, at 5 o'clock, my eyes will be able to see, and then it will be able to wake me up or whatever. But an alarm, the sense of sound is sharper, and even though we are sleeping, we are immediately able to revive our consciousness. Therefore, like that, the process of hearing is the most beneficial, even though there are 9 processes of devotional service. Out of that, hearing is the primary. It starts with Shravanam Kirtanam and then Vishnu Smaranam. So that means the first point is about hearing about the Lord, Shravanam. So Mahatma Vidura is actually taking to that process of hearing about the glories of the Lord, and that for us is actually been documented for us here, the jivas in Kali Yuga, to be able to go through this and then understand this and appreciate it, and try to revive our consciousness to the consciousness of our original state, that of a pure spirit soul, and that spirit soul being a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose constitutional function is to serve that Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this process is most important. Now, in this section, we saw yesterday also that Kardama Muni had done a lot of austerities, and as a result of that austerities, the Lord personally appeared in front of him. And having appeared in front of him, he gave him certain instructions, certain boon. And then the Lord is leaving. And then in yesterday's verse, we saw when the Lord was leaving, Kardama Muni was meditating on the path in which the Lord's flight, like, Garuda, how he is carrying him back to Vaikuntha. And he was meditating on that aspect of going back to Godhead. And that's something very nice. We discussed how Krishna consciousness is, is the people who are in Krishna consciousness are the only one, very few who are actually able to look at this, how I can go back to this Vaikuntha. There are, which we discussed elaborately. Some of you may have been there or may not have been there yesterday. But there we actually saw this process is not any ritualistic process. It is actually something to give us the ultimate benefit. And not many can actually take up to this process. They will be looking at everything as a spiritual activity, but the objective will be much, much in a different, if I may say so, at a lower objective. That means an objective which is far from the real objective that the human form is supposed to have, that is of going back to Godhead. People may have an objective to go to Swargaloka, like that. We saw all of those things. So now, verse from here on to the next 4 verses, we will try to understand after the Lord left what happened. So we will start this. I will chant these verses and also the word by word meaning and the translation. The first 3 or 4 doesn't have much of a purport. So the last one, verse number 39, has a bit of a purport. And then we will try to focus on what Prabhupada is trying to educate us on with that particular verse. Verse number 35. 3rd canto, 21st chapter, verse number 35. Ata sampratishte sukle kardamo bhagavan rishihi aste sma bindu sarasi tam kalam pratipalayan. Ata, then, sampratistite sukle, when the Lord had gone, Kardamaha, Kardama Muni, Bhagavan, the greatly powerful, Rishihi, sage, Astesma, stayed, Bindu Sarasi, on the bank of Lake Bindu Sarovara, Tam, that, Kalam, time, Prati Palayan, awaiting. Translation. Then, after the departure of the Lord, the worshipful sage Kardama stayed on the bank of Bindu Sarovara, awaiting the time of which the Lord had spoken. So here, basically, during the meeting with the Lord told him that whatever his desire was to actually get a nice wife and lead a very devotional life, with the in a grahastha ashrama situation, and for which the Lord said, yes, don't worry, your father-in-law will bring your wife personally, and then you will be able to get that kind of wife that you are actually aspiring for. So like that he will say, and he will give a specific time and date like that when this will happen. Therefore, Kardama Muni is actually living in the, not living means he's basically taking accommodation nearby in that lake, nearby that lake, which is called Bindu Sarovara. Now we will discuss about this Bindu Sarovara in the 39th verse, which is the last verse where Prabhupada is giving a nice commentary. So he is actually taking shelter near that place called Bindu Sarovara, waiting for the would-be father-in-law and would-be wife to come, and mother-in-law to come and arrange for their marriage. The next one. Sorry, I have not shared the verse. Right? Okay, we saw the 35th one. Now let's look at the next one. Okay, now let's look at the next verse. Verse number 36. Manhu Shandanam Astaya Sata Kaumba Parichadam Aropya Swan Duhitaram Sa Bharyaha Paryatan Mahim. Word to word translation. Manhu, Swayambhuva Manu, Shandanam, the chariot, Astaya, having mounted, Sata Kaumba, made of gold, Parichadam, the outer cover, Aropya, putting on, Swam, his own, Duhitaram, daughter, Sabharyaha, along with his wife, Puryatan, traveling all over, Mahim, the globe. Translation. Swayambhuva Manu, with his wife, mounted his chariot, which was decorated with golden ornaments. Placing his daughter on it with them, he began traveling all over the world. Let's see the purport. The Emperor Manu, as the great ruler of the world, could have engaged an agent to find a suitable husband for his daughter. But because he loved her just as a father should, he himself left his state on a golden chariot with only his wife to find her a suitable husband. So this is seen in many, this one, the aspect of personalism, right? So we are actually seeing here Manu is the emperor of the entire universe. So naturally, he will have hundreds and thousands of servants and all kinds of experts are there. The more one has all these facilities, the natural tendency will be to use all these facilities. Like today, for example, if you see, we engage cooks. We will have the cook deliver everything, or we have these various the uh, food delivery platforms of the world, right? We are not really bothered about that personal relationship. Like, we are thinking, okay, these facilities are available elsewhere. Let us just get them done. Why should we bother to have this personal relationship of, depending on our own, depending on serving the family, at least the near and dear ones. So, actually speaking, this is the nature. In fact, those days, if you see, there won't even be some taps and all that. So what will happen is, if you have taken your prasadam and if you have some left hand is touched and all that, you need another person to come and help you to even give some water on the left hand, so that then you can use your left hand to take further water and wash your right hand. That means there was always this nice dependency between people, and that is how the relationships actually developed very nicely. Like, it is not mechanical. I will, for example, if I am fighting with let's say my wife or my children, then, I'm interacting with them day and night, even for just putting some water on the left hand because it has become juta or something. Here we don't care, right? We simply open the tap and we wash our hand. But there's always this personal relationship of each one caring for the other. And this is going on in every aspect. And the more we are connected, then the more will be our nice relationship within the family, within the near and dear ones, within the friends. There is always a mutual give and take. But those things are actually, in today's world, we are missing very badly. Like, we are stuck to our own, private life. Like, we are not really, each one has a separate room. So we are sort of locked in our own room, and we are locked into some external world of our internet and stuff like that. And the next person doesn't know what we are up to. So this is all going on. Even, if you see, again in Damodar month, we are there. And the pastime of Lord Damodara, we can actually see Mother Yashoda having 9 lakh cows and so much of wealth, and so many servants, it has been mentioned. But she personally got up so early in the morning. Why? To actually churn butter for Krishna. Right? And the simple task, right? Churning a butter. Butter is there in quintals. Just get someone who's a good servant. Okay, you come and you churn this butter. No, Yashoda Mai was not interested in just delegating the work or the service that we are supposed to do to here in this case to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She said, it's not about me delegating it. I will personally do this activity so that this butter I will prepare in a very nice manner and then offer it to the Supreme Lord. So that he becomes completely satisfied with that butter. Therefore, he doesn't go out and searches outside, go for thieving butter. This is her mode. She personally does this activity. Like this here, Manu, even though he can engage many matrimony sites to actually look for a boy for his daughter, he personally travels the globe. Just imagine if you are the emperor of the whatever universe, or if you are the emperor of the globe, the kind of responsibility we have is humongous. But he is able to take time out and then go, cut off from everything and actually go. I don't know whether he cut off, but he would have been multitasking possibly. But nonetheless, he gave so much prominence to personally going out and searching for a nice boy for his daughter. That is something which is we can learn from this. Because he loved her just as a father should, he himself left his state on a golden chariot with only his wife to find her a suitable husband. This we can see, very, very important. So, sometimes, okay, what is there? Okay, he went with his daughter. But there are so many things that these leaders are actually teaching us, that again, Krishna, you set an example, how you do things. So how you care for your family, however big, however busy you are, what is your role in that? How do you serve the devotees? How do you serve the Lord? These things are all there in the background. We just have to see and then see how we can imbibe those qualities in ourselves. Now, next one, 3:21:37. Tasmin Shuddhan Van Ahani Bhagavan Yet Samadhishti samadhisat samadhisat upayad ashrama padam munehe shanta vritasya tat. Word by word meaning. Tasmin, on that. Su Dhanvan, O great bowman Vidura, Ahani, on the day, Bhagwan, the Lord, Yat, which Samadhisat, foretold, Upayat, he reached, Ashrama Padam, the holy hermitage, Munehe, of the sage, Shanta, completed, Vritasya, whose vows of austerity, Tat, that. Translation. O Vidura, they reached the hermitage of the sage, who had just completed his vows of austerity on the very day foretold by the Lord. So the Lord, they say, Trikala Jnani, he knows everything, past, present, and future. He knows that Manu and his wife and his daughter, they will arrive on so and so date here, and he had already told this Muni that Kardama Muni that they will come at so and so date. So you continue to do your whatever austerities till such time. So they are exactly arriving on that particular day. Next verse 38 and 39. Yasmin Bhagavato Netran Nyapattan Ashru Bindavaha Kripaya Sampari Tasya Prapanne Arpitaya Brisham Tadvai Bindu Saro Nama Sarasvatya Pariplutam Punyam Sivamrita Chalam Maharishi Ghana Sevitam. Word by word meaning. Yasmin, in which Bhagavataha, of the Lord, Netrat, from the eye, Nyapatan, fell down, Ashrubindavaha, teardrops, Kripaya, by compassion, Sampari Tasya, who was overwhelmed, Prapanne, on the surrendered soul, Kardama, Arpitaya, placed upon, Brisham, extremely, Tat, that, why, indeed, Bindu Saraha, lake of tears, Nama, called, Sarasvatya, by the river Saraswati, Pariplutam, overflowed, Punyam, holy, Siva, auspicious, Amrita, nectar, Jalam, water, Maha Rishi, of great sages, Gana, by hosts, Sevitam, served. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The holy lake Bindu Sarovara, flooded by the waters of the river Saraswati, was resorted to by hosts of eminent sages. Its holy water was not only auspicious, but as sweet as nectar. It was called Bindu Sarovara because drops of tears had fallen there from the eyes of the Lord, who was overwhelmed by extreme compassion for the sage who had sought his protection. Purport. Kardama underwent austerities to gain the causeless mercy of the Lord. And when the Lord arrived there, he was so compassionate that in pleasure he shed tears, which became Bindu Sarovara. Bindu Sarovara is therefore worshipped by great sages and learned scholars because, according to the philosophy of the absolute truth, the Lord and the tears from his eyes are not different. Just as drops of perspiration which fell from the toe of the Lord became the sacred Ganges, so teardrops from the transcendental eyes of the Lord became Bindu Sarovara. Both are transcendental entities and are worshipped by great sages and scholars. The water of Bindu Sarovara is described here as Shiva Amrita Jala. Shiva means curing. Anyone who drinks the water of Bindu Sarovara is cured of all material diseases. Similarly, anyone who takes his bath in the Ganges also is relieved of all material diseases. These claims are accepted by great scholars and authorities and are still being acted upon even in the fallen age of Kali. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur-urmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadanti Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tamsa Jeevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrinda Vaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'll just read the verse once again, translation. The holy lake Bindu Sarovara, flooded by the waters of the river Saraswati, was resorted to by hosts of eminent sages. Its holy water was not only auspicious but as sweet as nectar. It was called Bindu Sarovara because drops of tears had fallen there from the eyes of the Lord, who was overwhelmed by extreme compassion for the sage who had sought his protection. So here, if you see, the Lord, the first point that is being discussed is the mercy of the Lord. Like, the Lord, seeing the austerity, seeing the effort put by his pure devotees, he is very pleased. And his compassion is so much that he is actually shedding tears. And that teardrop actually fell in that lake, and that lake had become, it's mentioned that it has become like Shivamrita, that it's become so sweet, nectarian it has become. Just imagine, sometimes we all equate, not generally anyone here who are physically present in this Zoom session or Facebook session, I don't know. But there are people generally who sometimes equate the Lord also to themselves. Like, oh, the Lord is also an ordinary person like that. I will also become Lord one day. Like this kind of very contaminated thinking they have. But what they don't realize is the Lord may look like them, or rather they look like the Lord. Like, there is something like, he in Bible or somewhere, I think it is there, that he made man in his form like that. But we think we made God, and therefore God has that form. They made the form of the Lord based on what we have. That is how some of the lot of people think. But it is that the Lord made the humans in his form. So that is it. But it ends there. That doesn't mean, therefore we become God. We are just a creation of the Lord, and he was merciful to give us the form in which he is personally there also. So that is his greatness. Not that, we are equal to him, therefore, okay, no, I also look like you. I mean, we can never look like him in his beauty or his strength or whatever. But we may think, okay, he also has two hands, I also have two hands, or whatever. That way, if you have to think that, therefore I will also become perfect and I will become God. No, that is not possible. Some of these examples actually show this, like the Lord lifting the Govardhan hill, which we can't even lift a table. But we want to do some things which the Lord does, which is, out of our lust. Either, at least artificially, we are thinking the Lord had this wonderful relationship with so many women, so let me also have, those kind of thing we want to imitate, but we don't want to imitate what the Lord did with, lifting the Govardhan hill or something like that. And in this case, our tears, I don't know if most of us would have, in some form and shape, tasted our tears. They are salty, right? You never think that, our tears will become like amrita, like, sweet nectar. But, the Lord's thing, even his perspiration, forget about even the eye drops. Perspiration is something where you close your nose and run away when someone is like gone for a walk and he comes and sits in the hall. You want to avoid that person, right? The person is stinking, right? But the Lord, why perspiration? Even his, what you call, excreta, whatever, I don't know what you call. Even that, actually, I think Kapila Muni, or one of the incarnation of the Lord, he didn't want anybody to disturb him. He will take the fishes and put all over his body, so that people don't feel attracted, they feel it is stinking. But then even that is so very smelly. I mean, that is not smelly, that is also so much of very fragrance. And even the feces of the Lord, for 5 kilometers, it gives wonderful gandha, very beautiful smell that is there. Can we imagine something like that when we are thinking about it? So here, so the various aspects of the Lord, that, we can't say, oh, these eye drops of the Lord, the teardrops of the Lord are actually something which is something which is bad, or his perspiration, which is very bad, or for that matter, even if at all the Lord ever evacuates, that also is bad. No, everything is transcendental. This is something which we need to understand. Prabhupada is saying here, his teardrops are non-different from the Lord personally. So this is something which we need to really meditate upon. Like, for example, when we take Charanamrit in the temple of the Lord, how much respect we should have when we honor Charanamrit, because that is non-different from the Lord. That chandan which is put on this thing, the tulasi that is touched the Lord, whatever, our little flower, when we are offered that garland, when we are giving class, when we are offered that garland, that is basically the Lord's garland, and that is not different from the Lord. There's so many things like this we can actually meditate upon when we are in the temple, when we are associating with the paraphernalia of the Lord, how our mood should be. These things actually elevate us very quickly to that consciousness of Krishna conscious 24/7. So when I see this Bhagavatam, it is not some textbook somewhere lying. How respectful I need to be towards Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes we keep Srimad Bhagavatam when you are Bhagavad Gita or any transcendental books. In fact, once we were there in the temple, and Bhakti Vikas Maharaj was giving a class, and the book, we have that shelf, right? The bookshelf, it was kept there. He was giving class, and then he turned around, he saw the shelf in one of that, either the Bhagavad Gita or one of the books was kept instead of straight like this, it was kept ulta. Then immediately Bhakti Vikas Maharaj stopped his class and he chased. I said, who has kept this book like this? Do you think this is an ordinary book? This is actually the Lord himself. You can't keep a deity upside down. So this is consciousness. It's not that, oh, I am Krishna conscious. No, Krishna consciousness means we should always be looking at the Lord as though I am there in front of him. Like, if your spiritual master is in front of you, how will be your behavior? Right? That way. It's not that he has to be physically present, but our consciousness is understanding that he is sitting here right next to me. And I need to be in that mode of surrender, in that mode of how I should be in my proper behavior in front of my spiritual master, or in front of the Acharya Srila Prabhupada, or in front of senior devotees, in front of the Lord himself, or to all the other jivas around me, because everywhere the Lord is there seeing us. How do we behave? How do we put up our behavior in any circumstances? That has to be at the Krishna conscious. That is the point. It's not about best. So then you say you should be in your best behavior. Best behavior is only a relative term, but we should be Krishna conscious behavior. That is the most important. So here the understanding of the Lord and his tears as being non-different, and therefore it is mentioned that this lake therefore attracts all the realized souls to come there and congregate, because that place is not different from the Lord, where the Lord's eye drops are there. Bindu Sarovar. And then Prabhupada is talking about river Ganga, which basically came from the spiritual world, because there are 2-3 versions. One version is that means one version means it's not like, is this either this or that, not like that. The Lord actually performs pastimes not just once. He performs it in many, many times in many, many yugas. So as he is performing these, okay, so when I talked about the one incarnation of the Lord who applied physis in this body, that is Rishabhadev. The other one is the fishes which is there left out somewhere and giving the fragrance over 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, like that. These two different, that is also Rishabhadev, I believe. Okay. Thanks to my wife who's just giving me the name. She found out from the book and gave me the correct name. It is not Kapiladev, it is Rishabhadev. Okay. Now, where was I? There are 3 different versions that at least I am aware of about how Ganga came into this our earthly planet from the spiritual world. One is when Vamanadev, when he was actually growing up, big, his toe penetrated that spiritual sky, and therefore through that hole, then Ganga flowed down. That is one version. The other version is when the Lord reached up to that point, then Brahmaji there actually offered Pada Puja to the Supreme Lord, and that actually converted into Ganga, and then it flowed down to this material world. And the third version here, what I am reading from Prabhupada, is it is mentioned that Prabhupada is writing here. Both are. I thought I saw how perspiration of the Lord is actually Ganga. That's how Prabhupada has written here. He was so compassionate. Therefore, worshipped by great sages, and according to the philosophy of the Lord, and the tears from his eyes are not different. Just as drops of perspiration which fell from the toe of the Lord became the sacred Ganges. So he's saying this perspiration of the Lord which fell from the toe became the sacred Ganges. So like this, there are many versions, means many different ways in which the Lord performed these pastimes. One time he may put it like, he may perform it in a particular way. In another same incarnation, in another time when he comes, he may do it differently. So these small minute variations will be there, because again it is not some kind of a template, like yes, computer program, like it will only work like this. That is why personalism is very important. The Lord, in fact, there was once Prabhupada was when there was a war between Pakistan and India. So at that time, Prabhupada said, now the world is going to come to an end. Like, this war is going to escalate into such a big thing that, the world will be finished now. So the devotees became very serious. Oh, this is, at this stage, they were actually preparing all bunkers, everything and all that. And they were also maybe spiritually trying to become very focused, so that, if the world comes to an end, we will all leave our, body in that consciousness. Then time went by. After a few months, nothing happened, and things subsided, and okay, the world came back to its normal. The share market went up, everything was happening normally. There is nothing to worry. So then someone later asked Prabhupada, you said that the world will come to an end, but nothing like that has happened. Then Prabhupada immediately, without thinking, he actually said, yes, the world was supposed to come to an end, but the Lord changed his mind. So why I'm saying this is, see, it's not like, the Lord is very impersonal, that, everything will happen according to this fixed time, a template where, each program will run automatically. And then, the Lord is very personal. He has his own moods. He has his likes and dislikes. He may suddenly say, hey, this is not what I want it differently. And that's it. He has the supreme will. And when he decides, and then everything changes according to his. He doesn't have to immediately put a lot of working to say, okay, you don't have, this doesn't have, he has to influence so many people. No. He wills that this will be destroyed immediately. He feels that this should now stop and that should change in a different way. Immediately that happens like that. So that is the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, you sometimes when we read the scriptures, for one particular pastime, there may be 2-3 different versions to it. So don't immediately say, oh, this is all stories that, someone wrote like that, someone else wrote like that. No. Like, even Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana is one aspect of it. But if you see, Kamba is another great devotee. His version of Ramayana has a slight variations. Of course, Valmiki's is the original version, but Kamba Ramayana, when he wrote some aspects which are slightly different, you may think, oh, is Kamba exaggerating or is he putting something which is imagination? No, because he had a vision also. Because when Kamba Ramayana was written, people were saying, oh, your Ramayana is not good. You are concocted something and all that. Then in Trichy, there is one Mantapa. In that Mantapa, the Lord Narsimhadev is there in front of that Lord. So Kamba was reciting this, and he wanted to, he was dependent on the Lord. Oh Lord, I have written this, but people are not accepting my Ramayana. So at that point in time, when he was reciting and there was this jury kind of a thing, the Narsimhadev actually, he lifted his hand to say that, this is correct. So like this, so therefore that version of Kamba Ramayana you cannot reject because Narsimhadev accepted that Ramayana. So, but if there are something slightly different from Kamba Ramayana, we cannot judge and say, oh, Kamba Ramayana is different from Valmiki Ramayana, therefore Kamba Ramayana may not be pure Ramayana. No, we cannot, because these are pure devotees. To such an extent, Prabhupada, I read in one of the verses, Prabhupada has written, when a pure devotee says, even it may be incorrect, factually it may be incorrect, but if a pure devotee says something, then the Lord will make that actually as truth. This is, I've read this also elsewhere, even Prabhupada, whatever he says, sometimes some people argue, oh, Prabhupada said it, he didn't know much, he said it, but this is not factual. There are some people who, have take such kind of thing, equating Prabhupada as an ordinary person. He's also having these memory problems or okay, so be it. He's limited, yes, in one sense that, we say, right, even the great acharyas, they are not equivalent to the Lord. So there is always, but that is not the point. Even if they make a mistake, the Lord will make that as the truth. So then where is the mistake there? Like, there are many such wonderful things. One of the great devotees, he said today is Paurnami, when actually that day happened to be Amavasya. So what to do like this? Then when he said it, then the Lord made Paurnami happen that day. So he may be factually wrong in one sense, but then the Lord's mercy, because of the pure devotee's word, should not become wrong. How many times the Lord Brahma gave things which is not practically possible, like he gave wounds which is not practically possible, but the Lord make it happen, right? He says, you have to kill this what's his name, Hiranyakashipu. Like, he takes so many different it should not happen like this. It should not, my death should not happen by animals, by men, by weapon. So many things he is putting so that that boon that he is getting indirectly makes him immortal. But that's okay. The Lord did not violate any of the aspects of the boon. He satisfied all aspects of the boon because Brahma had given that word, and I do not want Brahma's words to be become wrong. So he ensured every aspect is covered, and then he still killed the Hiranyakashipu. So this is an amazing thing. So many places the Lord actually ensures that my devotees' things are more important than me myself. Like how when Lord Krishna, when that Pitamaha wanted to see Lord Krishna fight, but Lord Krishna had taken a vow that I will not touch weapon in this war. I want to be neutral. I will not do anything. This is his vow, the Lord's vow. But the Pitamaha wanted, I want to see Krishna fight in this war. So these two are completely contradictory. how is it then therefore possible that Krishna's vow can be broken or Pitamaha's desire to be fulfilled? Krishna did not care for his personal vow. He said, for me, my pure devotee's wish is more important than my personal vow. Then at that point in time, when Pitamaha was about to kill Arjuna, the Lord immediately got down, took the chariot, the wheel of the chariot, which was already broken by Pitamaha, and went running towards him to kill him. So he picked up a weapon to attack, Pitamaha, Bhishmadev. So therefore, he showed him that, my mood of fighting, I will take up a weapon and I will fight in this war like that. So then the Pitamaha became very pleased. So like this, the Lord is so much compassionate towards his devotees. That is relating here, that he shed tears. And he is also mentioning that, even today these things are being followed, even in Kali Yuga, Prabhupada is writing. But if you really see, like all of us also take darshan of these wonderful holy places, we go and atone our sins. Like, whenever you go to Mayapur, like, the Ganges is running there. We all go there and pay our obeisances and very sincerely take up that water and perform some, maybe some offering Ganges to Ganges herself, or purifying ourselves by taking a holy dip in the water. Like that, there are many beautiful places. Like I was in Udupi last 3-4 days back. I mean 2-3 days back. So there, where there's a place called Pajaka. There, if you see the birthplace of Madhvacharya. So there, actually, if you go and see, there are Madhvacharya as a child used to go to 4 different tirthas to take bath. Like that, those were like 5-6 kilometers apart, kind of a thing. But every day Madhvacharya used to go to those tirthas and take bath there. So I don't know why he had to go there. It was considered tirtha there, and he took that bath from those. He will, in each of the tirtha, he will take bath and then come home. And then his mother was feeling, oh, this child is going for bath like this and coming back like. And then when she was very much in anxiety, and therefore Madhvacharya created a beautiful lake behind his home only, and all the tirthas assembled there actually. So he could easily take bath. A beautiful pond behind his house only. So like this, these things are very important. So you go there, it's very difficult to go to some of the tirthas, like, there's no proper road, or there is no, if you are little having leg problem and all, it is difficult. But you somehow get to that place and you take that, honor that tirtha. So sweet that water was. You just take and, internally we can take that tirtha and we take bath. It's amazing. That's like a small, in between rocks, that place is there, but water never, it's no point in time in the year that water will not be there. These things are amazing. Our wells we create, the well become dry, but these tirthas, how they are able to sustain, these are all magical. We cannot comprehend, because this is the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like that here, it's been mentioned, like, even in Kali Yuga, there are people who go and respect all these stalas where the Lord has left some portion, something of his reminder of him being there. So then the compassion of the Lord is something which we cannot forget. There are so many wonderful pastimes of the Lord where he is so compassionate towards his devotees that, in fact, there is this one Gopa. So the Lord actually is waiting for each one of us to go back to God. He is shedding tears. There is one expansion of the Lord who's personally only for you, not for me. Like that. There is the person. So that Lord is waiting for that particular jiva, that they have a relationship, right? We know we have that 6 levels of the relationship which we have with the Lord, and 5 levels of relationship that we have as a friend, or a mother, or a parental friend, or servant, or a lover. There are like this, or in a neutral, whatever. These relationships are there, and the Lord manifests for each jiva in that relationship. So for Yashoda, if he is child, for Arjuna, he is friend. Now he has to manifest into 2 to give that flavor to Yashoda and this flavor to Arjuna. Then we also have our Swarupa, original relationship with the Lord, and we don't know what it is right now. Right now, we are looking at him as our master. We start off with looking at the Lord as Lakshmi Narsimha, as Lakshmi Narayana, as his servant. But we don't know what is our original relationship. It could be a friend, it could be a mother or father or whatever it is. So the Lord will have to manifest that for us personally, and that personal form of the Lord is waiting. When will this Vidura Madhava Das realize this and come back here? He's just sitting there and enjoying material life. So he's actually, and so finally, if at all, when I reach there, he's going to hug me so nicely and he's going to shed tears. This is actually, say, I was been waiting for you for so long, but you have not come like this. You have been keeping away from him. The Lord is so compassionate, so merciful. And here Kardama is feeling, oh my, this child, how he's looking to have a proper family life here, and what austerities he did for me. Oh my child, don't worry. I will give you whatever you want. And in that happiness, he shed tears, and then he gives him the boon, and he departs back to Vaikunta. So some wonderful things that we can see, whatever little I could relate to within these 4 or 5 verses, I have tried to share with you. It's 9:02 now. I'll stop here. If there are any questions or any comments, welcome. Hare Krishna. So we see 3 devotees here. But
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
It is very heartening to know that the Lord is shedding tears when devotees are becoming Krishna conscious. It is for the upcoming devotees or everybody, it's very heartening to listen to this this fact, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji, for
thanks for that realization. Yes. No. But the Lord is waiting for us. He's saying, no, in the Bhagavad Gita, he's saying, Sugurdam Sarva Bhutani Gyatva Mam Shantim Ruchati. That means he is the ultimate well-wisher for every single Sarva Bhutani, not simply the human beings, for every being in this universe. He is the only well-wisher or the topmost well-wisher. But somehow we don't realize that. We think this, my boss is my well-wisher, or my, all these transactional relationship is what is our well-wisher. But ultimately, it is the Lord who is the most beneficial well-wisher for all of us. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, for this.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so we will end here. Thank you all for patiently joining in and listening for whatever I could share. Thank you. Hare Krishna. We can end this session.
Yes. Thank you, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.